Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Rubino. I'm president of All American Restoration and author of The Mold Medic. And I have here a very exciting guest today. Her name is Lacey. And Lacey, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, y'all. My name is Lacey Dunn. I am a functional medicine virtual dietitian who specializes in hormonal health, hormonal imbalances, thyroid disorders, gut issues, you name it. And I am the new author of The Woman's Guide to Hormonal Harmony, how to rebalance your hormones, master your metabolism, and become the boss of your own body. And I'm so excited today to be here because I have been through mold.
I'm so excited to have you here today. And I want to ask you first, how did you become in contact with mold in the retrospect of knowing that it impacts your health, and kind of share a little bit about your journey and your story?
The exciting news is I have now deemed myself as the stork mold sniffer because I get my clients pregnant and I find mold. So just so people know, that's my new nickname. But unfortunately, when it comes down to mold, I kind of found it out the hard way. I was a bodybuilder, fitness enthusiast, and very much a nerd and exciting, more energized type of person. And I was feeling my very best back in, June, when the start of COVID all happened. And things started going downhill for me, like out of the blue. And I didn't really understand why I was having a lot of brain fog, muscle pains, joint aches, allergies out of the blue, sinus congestion. Like I would wake up and there would just be phlegm going down my throat. And I was like, this is not normal for me. And I didn't notice it at the time, but I started developing a lot of digestive issues and losing weight rapidly. I don't weigh myself and I didn't really notice. So it just 10 pounds just started falling off of me. And I didn't even notice it until I started feeling the side effects of the hair loss, of the chronic fatigue, the increased brain fog, and of course, lost all my strength in gym. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I just happened to be diving into more functional medicine things. I'm a self-experimenter. And I was like, you know what? Just for the fun of it, let me do a GI map, testing my stool. Let me do a mold test, checking my apartment. I remember before this all happened, I had a weird little bit of smell that was coming from my air vents. And I didn't know what that was or if that was even normal. So I had my apartment complex come in, clean that out. And I thought that was totally fine. And that was back in like January, February. Well, when I did my ERMI, my Mycometrics ERMI, which I don't know if your listeners know, but essentially you can either do a Swiffer cloth or a vacuum, and you swift it or you vacuum up your home and you send that off to the lab, and it tells you this is the amount of mold, this is the type of species that are within your apartment, your home, or your car, wherever you test it. So when I got my results, my ERMI was above an 11. Wow. Which, for those that don't know, if you are sensitive to mold or mold illness or have the genetics that predispose you to being sensitive for it, or if you have a other type of condition like hypothyroidism or an autoimmune disease, you don't want an ERMI above a 10. So totally. I got my 11 back, and I had species that were high in ochratoxin, which is essentially from water damaged buildings, and that was screaming my symptoms. Not only that, but I got my GI map results back, and I had a slew of issues that were probably secondary to mold, from Candida, H. pylori, SIBO markers, low secretory IgA. So it was very validating to do my test, but that's how I found the mold.
Wow. That's an incredible story. And I have to ask you one question. Which one did you do? Did you do the vacuum one or did you do the Swiffer one?
I did the vacuum, and I'm so glad I did that because I'm 99.9% sure it was all within my carpet, because that's where I did it. I did it on my carpet. I didn't see mold, but I did my carpet, and that's where I found it.
It makes sense. And a lot of people don't know that mold is actually, and it's when it's a spore, right? It's between 2 and 4 micrometers. The human eye cannot see smaller than 50 to 60 micrometers. So it's roughly 25 times smaller than what you can actually see. It's no surprise you couldn't see it, right? You thought everything was clean. And then it wasn't until after you did the ERMI that you're like, hey, there's kind of a problem here, right? And so what did you do after that? Did you living in an apartment, right? Is that correct? So you didn't own the place. So it's not like you can just hire someone like me to come in and fix it, right? You kind of were at the beck and call of the apartment complex. Now, are you one of those people who are fortunate to had a good apartment complex and did the right thing, or did you have to move out?
The first thing I did was freak the hell out. You go the, oh my God, I'm gonna die scenario. Well, my apartment complex was okay. They hired somebody to come in and quote unquote clean my apartment,
Okay.
cleaned the carpets, cleaned the floors, and then they checked, quote unquote, checked my apartment with a moisture reading. Our moldies know that's not accurate. You're not
Right.
going in the walls, you're not going in the crawl spaces, you're not looking behind the dishwasher, like all these places you need to look. So I moved out. I got my jaw cavitation fixed. And I started on my gut healing protocol, but I was very lucky to be able to move out.
Now, you said jaw cavitation. I had my wisdom teeth pulled when I was a child, and basically, I went to a dentist recently. Basically, I had to get surgery because
Hmm.
it was all infected, and every single location where they pulled my wisdom teeth, and apparently it was a ligament issue, right? Like they left the ligament or something like that, and it became infected, and I had
Yep.
pus literally growing in my jaw that I had no idea, and so because I've been dealing with some weight issues, and it's like, well, is it because I'm, exposing myself to mold, going into people's
Right.
houses? I mean, even though
Right.
I know what I'm doing and I protect myself, nothing's ever 100%. The best of the best things out there are 99% effective, right? So I'm like, is that what's going on? Was it the bone cavitation, right? Is there a hormone imbalance? Like something is going
Hmm.
on with me internally, right? And I've been trying to kind of put my finger on it. Now, I've made a lot of amazing life decisions since I've kind of realized that my body is not perfect at this time. And so what I've done is I got the bone cavitation surgery. Is that exactly what you just did?
Yes, and I have a school of thought for this.
Yeah.
So yeah, the periodontal ligament was left. And what happens when you have that jaw cavitation is you have dead bone. So
Mm.
you have like a bacterial soup from where that wisdom teeth was removed. And that bacteria is causing systemic inflammation, release of biotoxins, endotoxins in your bloodstream. My school of thought is if I was not in mold, I truly do not believe that would have caused me an issue. But I feel that because I was exposed to that mold, it created that systemic inflammatory response, that Sears response. And I truly believe that is what the issue was. So I do regret my surgery. I wish I would have gotten out of the mold and waited and healed my gut and my mold and then said, okay, am I still having issues?
Right.
Because I really truly feel that the mold is what creates the inability to fight that bacterial soup.
It's amazing, when we're trying to optimize our health, right? It's like air quality is the last thing we think about. We jump to all these other things. I think the premise of this is to kind of really show others that they can do something about it. They can
Right.
get back onto a path where they can begin to heal. And I think, you're telling your story is really empowering for those that are listening.
The mold journey is a hard journey and it does not get better right away. I would say it took me months, took me all the way to February from getting out of mold in November to feel better. And that's because mold, what it does is it creates that total systemic response. So not only does it depress and suppress your immune system, but it also suppresses your hormones from, your estrogen levels, your testosterone levels, your thyroid, can cause nutrition deficiencies, can cause digestion issues. So you're not properly digesting and absorbing your nutrients, which then becomes a vicious cycle. So there's a lot of things you have to fix. So for me, I had to get out of the mold first and foremost. That was the first step. And then I had to make sure that I was healing my gut. So boosting my immune system. After that, and this is where a lot of people they get discouraged because they're like, okay, I went through all this and I'm not feeling better. What's up? Well, guess what? That detoxification protocol from coming out of that mold is very hard on your adrenals. So then I had to go down the route of fixing my adrenals. And then once I did that, everything was a game changer.
I think we're grown up kind of being taught that if you're sick, you just take this pill, right?
Right.
And so it's really interesting kind of looking at the form and function of things, and that's why I love your field of functional medicine, right? Because it's like as you start to dive into things, you're like, I don't, I have a headache, but it's not because I have an Advil deficiency. Like, no, there's something
Mm-hmm.
else going on. I have a deficiency of something that is creating this symptom of a headache. And we need to solve that deficiency, right, to get better.
Right.
And so I love the field of functional medicine. And, for me, I'm an organic, all natural, type of family household because we want real solutions to real problems. We don't want to mask problems by all these other pharmaceuticals. And so it's really cool to see, someone like you come out and really break that down and are really, changing the landscape because let's be honest, we need some reprogramming from, let's look at our air quality, let's look at how we look at medicine and how we solve our problems with our health. And there's just not enough information out there for people that can actually utilize and optimize their health in the right way instead of masking with these pharmaceuticals. So thank you for all the work that you do in that space.
You're so welcome. And that's what we need, information. Knowledge is power. And that's the basis with my work, making sure that people understand this is how your body works. This is why your body reacts that way. Because once you understand what's happening, then these symptoms, the hormonal imbalances, the chronic fatigue, the digestive issues, these aren't the root causes. Like, this is body screaming for help, right? So we want to find the fire alarm or the tiger within us or around us, like the mold, to figure out how can we get ourselves back to normal.
In writing the Mold Medic, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do is, like you said, get information out in the hands of people. And the reason why I actually wrote that book is because removing mold has been such a clouded subject for so many years. And I think I'm not done with what I'm doing. I mean, that's why I'm talking to you today. We have a lot more work left to do, right? Mold has been around for hundreds and thousands of years. Like, why is it now just suddenly a problem? Well, it's always been a problem, but we've never lived in tight buildings, right? Eating the way we eat today, drinking the water that we drink, all the plastic that we inadvertently consume on a daily basis, right?
And all the electromagnetic fields that love mold.
Wi-Fi, right? 5G, all of this stuff. I mean, we didn't have cell phones up to our ears 24/7, computer screens in front of our faces 24/7, all with Wi-Fi activity, EMFs that are being generated on our behalf, right? All this stuff. And now we introduce water damage in buildings and tight structures, the way we build buildings today. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster, and it's getting worse. It's so funny, like the way we look at the environment, right? We're like, hey, we need to build tighter homes, net zero emissions in terms of energy. It's all about energy and saving the planet with energy and these emissions. And it's like, what are we're killing ourselves in the process. There's a way to achieve both without sacrificing our indoor air quality at the expense of having net zero emissions, right? And so there's that whole subject that's not even being talked about, that I'm starting to pick up on as our building codes change year to year and all these things happen. It really strikes me as odd that all of us are not more and more aware of these things that are happening. Air quality is basically being sacrificed. And, like I said, back for 20,000 breaths per day. It's amazing how we don't even, like, air quality is the last on our list when it should be the first, right?
And I'm glad you mentioned buildings, because that is something a lot of people don't know when it comes down to mold, is that mold can be in brand new buildings. I mean, brand new buildings nowadays, the construction quality is absolute crap. They're thin little walls, and you can have black mold in a brand new home. It's happened to at least 3 of my clients. Brand new homes, black mold. Yes. So you have to make sure you're doing intensive, extensive mold assessments, even in brand new homes, because it gets cray.
I was building a brand new home here in Tampa, Florida, and it had mold. Surprise, surprise. So 1.5.
That scares me so much.
Right. And I'm glad it happened to me, because at least I was aware. We did our framing inspection. I saw it growing all over the place, and I'm like, oh my God, this is a problem. I brought it to their attention, and it's just like the industry. They're like, I don't really.
That's normal.
They call it typical growth. It's typical discoloration, right? Wait till you see this. I'm about to share my screen now here. So look at this. So we have 80,000 cladosporium here, almost 5,000
Can you zoom in?
aspergillus.
Oh wait, I can actually zoom in.
Can you zoom in? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can zoom in.
One of the studs in the kitchen, 643,000 aspergillus, right? Cladosporium. And then look at this, 870 gatomium. Another black mold, toxigenic, mycotoxin producing. We have aspergillus penicillium, again, two molds that are mycotoxin producing. And look at this one. Upstairs hall bathroom, 1.5 million aspergillus penicillium.
They had multiple leaks. That's water damage right there.
Oh, I mean, well, they delivered the lumber into the wet soil.
Probably wet,
it rained for weeks, right? And then they just put it up. I explained to them, guys, I want to avoid this from happening. Let's not deliver the lumber in the soil. Of course, they yes me to death, right? No, 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 we won't do that. We usually deliver it and, wrap it up and things like that. It's just amazing that they tell you yes, 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 they get your money, and then it's just now I'm a nuisance, right? And so all of this was avoidable. I mean, I literally do consultations for clients on how to avoid this exact thing from happening. But being aware of it, while it helps, it's not the end all be all, because you still have to rely on a third party person like this builder
Right.
to do the right thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy. Like, you would never think, right? Because people don't think mold in brand new construction. That's not real, right? No, you have to have 100-year-old home. No, you can have a brand new home. As a matter of fact, I feel like the way we build homes with the materials we build them today, as tight as we build them, I think it's a lot more likely to have mold in your home brand new than it is in a 100-year-old home, because we built homes with real lumber, you know, without all these glued products. And honestly, they were just better built back in the day. And I think we've kind of veered off in the wrong direction in new construction. We also used to take like 2 years to build a house. These guys are building houses in like 4 months now. I mean, it's like just bam, 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 production line straight through. Things happen. Nobody's an artisan anymore. They're not going back and fixing things. They're just hoping nobody catches anything. And then they rely on their home warranty department to take care of whatever mess ups they make, right? So it's crazy. So thank you for bringing that up, because that provided a great opportunity for me to highlight that, yes, it really is real. It happened to me.
And that makes you even more of a better mold medic. That's for sure.
Yeah, because you know what? Look, if I can solve this problem so that I'm not needed anymore, this would be amazing, right? I just go out and find the next problem, figure out how to solve that. But for me, like right now, I'm so passionate about just creating the awareness. Like, if we can prevent mold from being a big problem in our society, that would be key. And it's not about, like, we know we're going to have leaks. There's going to be mold remediation companies that are going to be needed, but they should be needed far less. Like, when you have a problem, you call them on the fly, they're there. Great. But for right now, the real issue is people are buying homes, not realizing there's a problem. They're moving in, they're not getting a mold inspection, right? And then they start getting sick. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much misinformation out there that people are doing the wrong things and they're not even realizing it. And I think
Right.
that's the stuff that breaks my heart. That's the stuff that I really want to help prevent, because it's preventable. And so, what do they say? An ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. We have the opportunity to really get the message out there and help people before they make these mistakes, because they're costly mistakes. It's not only financial aspects of dealing with the apartment, the house, but it's also the health aspects and having to deal with going through that and detoxifying and the supplements. I mean, all of that stuff, and it takes time, right? And so it's time and money. And obviously no one wants to be sick and go through that. So everything that we can do to create awareness around that is really what my personal mission is now. So thank you very much for sharing that with me today. And I know we're getting tight on time, so before we wrap up here, please talk a little bit more about your book, where they're going to be able to find it and get it, when it comes out. Is it out already? And all of that stuff would be really awesome. And then just where can people find you? Because obviously you being in the functional medicine space is amazing, because a lot of our clients, they need someone to connect with that can help them on the body side. I can fix the home, I can't fix the body. So please kind of dive into that, and would be so appreciative.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be connecting with you to share
Yes.
your message and get it to the world, the awareness of mold. When it comes down to what I do, so I am a functional medicine dietitian and I work with really anybody around the world. I have people all the way in Australia, in the UK, in the United States. What I love about what I do is I treat the body physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So that's the way I do things. And my book, The Women's Guide to Hormonal Harmony, is aimed at making sure that every single woman knows what her hormones are, how they interact, how she can control her own body, master her metabolism, and be able to feel like she has that control back. because let's be real, as you get older, you feel like you lose that control. So I go over perimenopause, I go over menopause. As we go through the struggles of life with stress, I go over why that happens, what that means, how you can fix that. I go over how to heal yourself from mold. So important things to keep in mind. But if you want to find me, I am a nerd. Like I said, I experiment. I share a lot of free knowledge. I have a podcast, Uplift Fit Nutrition, which you need to be a guest on. So I have Uplift Fit Nutrition. I have my Instagram at Faith and Fit. And then, of course, I have my website, which has a lot of great blog posts. That's upliftfitnutrition.com. And then you can also find me on Twitter, because I'm one of those random people that love tweeting. And my Twitter is at Lacey Dunn. I do want to say, though, and I do not apologize for this, I have an adorable 3-legged dog named Gabe that I adopted during COVID. And so you will see him a lot.
No apology needed. Awesome. So the book's coming out May 25th. You can pre-order it now, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. So I know I'll be pre-ordering your book to give it to my wife as a gift. I'm sure she will absolutely love it. And, thank you so much again for being on here. And I would love to come on yours next.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I hope your listeners have a beautiful rest of their day.
All right. Thank you.